If we did a rankings in order, who is most to blame for the 4-game disaster, the worst weekend by any hitter with that amount of strikeouts to start a season? I would go Devers number 1.
Yep.
Then I would have like 5 miles of nothing.
Then Alex Cora. Yeah, I don't blame Alex Cora. There have been a lot of people who have been blaming Alex Cora for this morning. I don't blame him for it at all.
No, I don't. I blame him probably prior to the season. Like, I don't put the weekend or this series on just the plate of Devers, because other than Campbell and...
Let's not talk about what's on Devers' plate. There's a lot of fat shaving going on.
Other than Campbell and Abreu, it almost seems like, who else was really hitting the ball? You know what I mean? Casas didn't do anything. And,
but nobody else went 0 for 16.
Nobody else in the history of baseball.
No, I know.
Nobody's ever done it.
No, I understand that. I understand
but
that.
Then you keep bringing up other players.
Because in baseball, other players, Bregman had an opportunity in yesterday's game with runners in scoring position, and he didn't. So I'm not going to just drop it all on Devers' plate. Did he have
He also had a leadoff single, stole second base, and was on second with nobody out and didn't get driven in.
That was, I think, was that his first hit?
No, that was
his second hit, maybe, of the series. All I'm saying is Devers had a bad series. And, yes, you're part to blame of it, but guess what? There's 8 other batters in that lineup.
Okay, but the issue is not, at least for me, I didn't walk in here going, oh, boy, Red Sox lost the first series of the Major League Baseball season. They're done. That's not what I...
No, I didn't either.
But okay, so the takeaway is Devers. Takeaway is that you got a guy as your DH who you are paying $30 million a year for God knows how long, another 8 years or whatever it is, who is miserable, didn't participate in spring training from my perspective, and now you got to spend the rest of the season trying to find some way to make him happy or figuring out what you're going to do with him. It's not good.
When it's placing blame, though, I just wonder if we'd be seeing maybe a little bit of a different Devers if from jump Alex Cora said this. Alex Bregman is our third baseman and Rafael Devers is going to DH.
From jump when?
When they got Bregman. Like, that's not what happened. They got Bregman, and then every time the question presented itself, Alex Cora said, we're going to see what happens. We're going to see what happens. And you have Rafael Devers saying that he's the third baseman. You have Alex Bregman saying that he'll play wherever Alex Cora tells him to. You have Tristan Casas saying that it should be Devers at third base.
But Courtney, maybe they said that, and then Devers refused to play the field, and he made the answer very simple. If Alex Cora said before spring started that Bregman was the third baseman, you and others would say he didn't even get a chance to compete for his job.
Yeah, but we know it was all a dog and pony show.
Right.
I mean, there was no real.
So why didn't he play third if it's so important to him to the point that he takes grounders before the big league games?
Because I think that we all know, and he knows himself, that he was never going to play third base, that it was Bregman's position as soon as they signed him. Cora can say all he wants, and it's an open competition, and it's this and it's that. I bet that he knew, just like we all knew, that, well, I mean, Courtney, you and I were the only ones who were like, oh, he's still going to play. But everybody knew, except us, from day one, this is Bregman's position.
Right, because he's better at third base. But again, if Devers really and truly believed that he could win the job or that he was best suited to play the field and hit, then he should have been in the field. You don't have any leg to stand on whatsoever when you choose not to compete and then get mad that you lost.
Right, but he knows it's not a real competition.
The choose not to compete thing. Like, I think that we are assuming that he was choosing that. Like, I would like the afternoon or midday show or afternoon show, Alex Cora, to ask, like, whose decision was it for him not to go to Mexico? Whose decision was it for him not to get all of these live bats? Like,
well, Alex Cora kept suggesting that he was going to be in the lineup, and then he wasn't in the lineup.
Right, but I want that.
But don't you think that's on Rafael Devers?
I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
Why were they keeping him out of games then?
I think it was the shoulder injury.
When it was Mexico, it was
if it's the shoulder injury, then he shouldn't be DHing now. Then,
well, I mean, maybe the shoulder. So what you're saying is Cora has basically no truck nuts. Where if Devers is ready to go, Cora doesn't have enough juice in that clubhouse to say, Devers,
You're
playing in spring training. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, because he was miserable from the moment he arrived.
But it doesn't matter, though.
As soon as they started.
Okay,
Well, I think
let's just go back to March 4th. ESPN.com story. Red Sox slugger Rafael Devers pushes back spring training debut. From the story, Boston Red Sox slugger Rafael Devers, who was expected to make his debut Tuesday, has pushed it back after telling manager Alex Cora he did not feel ready.
Okay, so he didn't feel ready.
So that's not a decision by Alex Cora.
Well, he didn't feel ready because of the injury.
Okay, that was March 4th. They
Courtney
cleared the physical, obviously.
Courtney in her lead was showing him taking BP
in February
and looking, and you said he looked great.
Yeah, but that's why it doesn't make any sense to me where the disconnect happens. Like I'm with Wiggy here, where if you're Alex Cora, you're the manager of this team. If you have the authority to say to Rafael Devers, no, training staff says you're ready to go. Get out there.
Well,
and all we heard all through spring training when we were down there was that everybody was handling it like adults. There was no bad blood. Alex Bregman and Rafael Devers were getting along famously. They were bouncing things off of each other. We saw Rafael Devers out there practicing third base.
Yeah.
Okay,
and we saw him taking BP.
So
perfectly healthy to play.
Well, we don't know if he's
Curtis,
healthy.
all I'm saying, I don't want to argue with you. All I'm saying is I would like the question asked to Alex Cora, whose decision was it for him not to go to Mexico? Because Trevor Story and Rafael Devers did not make the trip. So whose decision was it? Was it Rafael Devers saying, I don't want to go? Or was it Alex Cora and the training staff saying he should not go?
I'm all for that question being asked, but I'm saying on March 4th, the manager said that Devers said he wasn't ready to play. This is a decision that Devers made to not play. There's no way that the training staff would pass him and then have him not be able to take the field. So, when did he actually make his debut? Wasn't it like March 20th?
Yeah.
Like
it was
3
very
weeks
late.
later, and it kept getting pushed back. This is all by Devers. So I'm sorry.
So then Cora doesn't have enough juice to say, no, you're playing today?
Right, because it's a delicate situation that he didn't want to further exacerbate by forcing him into a spring training game.
You don't look at the way he conducted himself and see a temper tantrum.
Oh yeah. Listen, I'm blaming Devers for his kid-like behavior. I mean, I'm not saying that he didn't have a kid-like behavior, but it's your job as the manager, and it's your job as Alex Cora, the guy that everybody tells me is like, okay, has his hand wrapped around the pulse of that clubhouse.
He's a player's manager.
Well respected. It's your job. If you know that the training staff is saying to you, hey, coach, he can play today. And if you go to Devers and say, Devers, all right, we're playing you today in spring training, and he goes, well, I'm not ready to go. Well, you're playing. We want you getting at bats. Like, that's your job as the manager of this baseball team.
Well, I would think that the expectation is on a guy who's been around here for his entire career, and that you've invested $30 million a year in him. Mm-hmm. He was going to be the face of your franchise, that he's going to be ready to hit the ball when it comes to opening day. But
we keep putting out these hypotheticals when we know every week there was a story in the month of March about Devers pushing back his return. And we saw him with our own eyes. We have the video that Courtney cited from the end of February where he looks ready and willing to do it. And it's not like he's going out there playing 9 innings. You get 1 or 2 at-bats, you get done in the 4th inning, and you go play golf. Like, this, Alex Cora did the very best he could, walking a tightrope, and Devers refused to play because he felt hurt by the team's decision to bring in a replacement. And there are story after story about the timetable being pushed back at the behest of Devers.
Then that's on you as a manager. If you're a manager or a coach of a team and your player is telling you, I don't want to play, then you need to be criticized for the way that you manage that player. Because if that player is healthy and ready to go and he can help your ball club or he can help your team, it's your job to say, you're playing today. You think Bill Belichick, if somebody went to Bill and they were having a dispute over contract or whatever, and they said, you know what, I don't feel ready to play in this preseason game, Bill. And even if it was a superstar to that level, Bill's going to be like, all right, well, I want to walk on eggshells. I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. Bill's going to say, no, you're going to play today. Get your ass out there. And that's the same respect that I would give Cora, because I think he has that same type of juice in that clubhouse. And I get that. And Mike Vrabel told us this. I get that Devers
can't compare football to
No.
baseball.
I'm saying Vrabel told us, I get Devers is acting like a baby or a clown or whatever adjective you want to use for him. But Vrabel said you have to coach everybody differently. So if you know Devers is being a baby, you as a manager got to say to him behind the scenes, hey, you got to stop crying here and go out there and play.
Right. And I think that Alex Cora thought incorrectly that if he pushed him further to get on the field, it would make the situation worse.
Then that's wrong on Cora, because clearly
the wrong is on Devers. Why
I
are we
understand. We're not saying the wrong is on Devers.
But if Devers just goes to work, this is a non-story.
If he doesn't complain about moving
if
off
he
the
says
Thursday,
I can play in the spring, it's a
Curtis,
non-story.
you keep saying this is why Devers. We don't know. You don't know. We don't know. If Devers went to Cora and said, I'm not ready to play,
Devers pushes back timetable for return.
Curtis, what you're doing is, we don't know why Devers said that. Was it because of his shoulder?
Do you think he had bad chicken?
No, but it could be because of his shoulder.
It was like allergies?
Wiggy, he showed up pissed off and made a big dramatic statement about how third base was his position.
Right. Wiggy would have you believe this is a big coincidence.
No. But I know that.
That's how he started spring training.
Right.
After he was the guy last year who was, when he decided to speak, he was like, get us help. We need additional players.
Right.
Get us guys.
Right.
And they go and get him, Alex Bregman, and he's pissed off about it.
Right.
Why are you excusing it?
I'm not excusing it.
So why is
We're
it
just having a
What
conversation.
we're having a back and forth. You do not hear me excusing it. What you hear me saying to you is that Devers is in the wrong, but Cora could have handled this situation a lot differently, and maybe we'd be in a different position. Yes, it's about the player, but there's
so
no
you think if Alex Cora publicly scolded Devers, it would have landed us in a better spot?
You'll give me a headache talking
And I'm
to
just
you.
saying,
'Cause
I'm asking
nobody's-
that question.
Because nobody's excusing it.
I know, but so I'm saying
listen,
we're not excusing. We agree on it. We agree, Devers.
Listen,
Wiggy, if Alex Cora publicly scolded Devers and said this guy needs to get on the field, do you think we would be in a better place today?
Maybe.
No.
How do you know?
Because I don't
Because
know.
what?
I
How do you
believe
know?
it to be that.
How do you
that he
know?
would not reply well to that.
Because why?
Because the guy showed up and immediately found microphones and started whining about how third base was his position.
He was asked one time.
He should have said that his answer should have been, I'll do whatever's best for the baseball team.
He didn't, though, Greg.
But
Get past it.
but that was
I'm
one.
not getting past it because it shows me exactly what he is.
It was
Okay, so the point that it's you as a manager, you have to step in when you got a malcontent or you got a crybaby as a player. It's your job to step in and either say, you're playing today and we're not dealing with this.
Now, here's a texter who agrees with you, Wiggy, who says if Cora had a spine, as Wiggy is alluding to, Devers would have been out there on March 4th.
Bingo. The same way, and I put dollars to donuts on this one.
You don't have to yell.
I'm passionate about this.
It's okay.
The same way that if Tatum didn't like the situation that he was in and he said to Missoula, I'm not ready to go, you would sit here and say, Missoula got no backbone because it's your job as the coach to make sure that the guy, if he's healthy, he's out there playing. Same way we would do a Bill Belichick, the same way we do a Bruce Cassidy, Joe Monk.
It's a completely different. You're
No,
suggesting
it's
a
not.
completely different
It's
scenario.
not a scenario.
Jason Tatum hasn't been malcontent.
No, I'm not saying he has, Greg.
It was better when you did the Jaylen Brown.
Right.
aspect.
We've
All right,
reached the
Jaylen Brown,
bizarre
whatever.
analogy
It's
part
not
of the Wiggy
it's
defense.
not a bizarre analogy. It's just saying that we have to hold people accountable. I'm holding Devers accountable. He shouldn't be crying about it. It's your job as a player to suck it up and go out there and play. But then it's your job as a manager. Let me finish. Your job as a manager or a coach to make sure if your guy's healthy, he's out there playing.
Greg, if Jason Tatum didn't play and refused to go on the floor, there would be zero people blaming Missoula, and everyone would be blaming Tatum.
You, Curtis and Greg would be saying Missoula got no backbone.
No.
Letting a superstar
we already know he
and I know
doesn't run the
Curtis
team.
keeps talking about March 4th, that
Yeah.
article, whatever. But if you go and you look at when the decision was made for Devers and Trevor Story not to go to Mexico, it was that one decision the Red Sox have made is that Devers and Trevor Story will sit those games out, with the two staying at the team's complexes. Then they go into Devers rehabbing his shoulder and Trevor Story the tweak in his back. And that's why they didn't go to Mexico. So that was a Red Sox decision, not a Rafael Devers decision.
Well, you know Curtis. Curtis saying about the facts.
Well, the fact is, on March 4th, he was ready to play, and he said no. That's the fact. The fact was he arrived miserable because he was hurt by the organization.
We know he arrived miserable.
If he was in a different state of mind, he's playing.
Then it's your
in
job
the
as a
spring.
manager. Isn't it the manager's job to make sure?
How much does Cora make and how much does Devers make?
It doesn't matter. Isn't
Of course it does.
You don't.
It's not Alex Cora's job to hold everybody's hand and to tell them, you know what, you're a great third baseman. We're going to get you out there at some point. You're still the face of this franchise. Like, that's not his job.
But that's the job of a coach. And Vrabel talked about it. Every coach talks about how everybody you have to handle differently. So if you got to handle one guy with kid gloves, then that's how you do it. Some other guys, you can put your foot on their neck and you get the best out of them. But it's your job as a manager to know your player's personality and handle them that way.
Well, then why are we blaming Devers for anything? He was just treated poorly.
Listen,
but he was injured, so he couldn't even play.
He still has to man up and go out there and perform.
If his shoulder was an issue, it come time to travel to Mexico, then he should not be DHing. He should start the season on the IL.
And was his shoulder injured between March 4th and the Mexico trip?
I don't think so.
That would have been a big story, I think.
Well, wasn't his shoulder an issue all spring training long?